Welcome back at 8:13. An announcement of a unity government this week in the Middle East. But what does that mean for peace in the region? Professor Michael Shires from Pepperdine University is here to explain. We want to welcome you back to the show. So what does it really mean? I mean, is peace not even an option right now over there?
Well, the process has certainly taken a really big step backwards. The Israeli response to this announcement was essentially to walk out of negotiations. So if you don't have both parties at the table, it's really hard to move things ahead. This has been tried before. I mean, there are two groups in the Palestinian Authority. There's Fatah and Hamas. The Palestinian Authority, Mr. Abbas, is part of Fatah. Hamas is in control of the Gaza Strip. And the two groups don't get along that well. Hamas actually won some elections about 7 years ago, and Fatah refused to release power. Hamas seized power. And so militarily, so there's literally a lot of tension between these two groups.
But why is Hamas so controversial?
Well, Hamas is a spinoff of the Muslim Brotherhood, which creates its own problems for the Obama administration because of Egypt. But in their charter is language that basically says, we're here to get rid of Israel. And so historically, that's been a big problem for the peace process. That's why you saw Benjamin Netanyahu walk out of the negotiations. This is an organization that's made its charter to eliminate the Israeli state.
And earlier this week, Secretary of State John Kerry spoke out about his disappointment with things breaking down. Let's listen in. We have a clip.
Well, there's always a way forward, but the leaders have to make the compromises necessary to do that. We may see a way forward, but if they're not willing to make the compromises necessary, it becomes very elusive. We will never give up our hope or our commitment for the possibilities of peace. We believe it is the only way to go. But right now, obviously, it's at a very difficult point, and the leaders themselves have to make decisions. It's up to them.
We just heard from Secretary of State. What does this whole process really mean to the U.S.'s efforts to create peace?
Well, I mean, that's the most pessimistic we've heard the administration on this issue. That tells you kind of the magnitude of this development. It makes it very difficult to move ahead. Just earlier this week, Hamas-controlled territory, rockets hit Israel. And so you have a situation where it's really hard for the Israelis, for the integrity of their government, to have these conversations. Now, there is an aspect of this. They've tried this before, and it's failed several times. So there's no guarantee. The worst case scenario is that they succeed in some ways and that Hamas takes over the Palestinian Authority completely. And so, I mean, they have this tradition not only being focused on getting rid of Israel, but also on benevolence. And so they tend to have a lot of traction amongst the poor Palestinians. And so if you have an open election, they could actually, that would be the worst case scenario. They could actually take power from both.
But, you know, I mean, these attempts at peace there have failed so many times before. Why is it so important that efforts keep going to try to bring peace to the earth?
Well, when you give up, it only leaves one set of alternatives, which is for both sides individually to pursue their interests based on what they think their military abilities are. And right now, Israel has the upper hand, but without the United States firmly behind it, that's a much more awkward position for them. You stack Iran on top of it, you stack the developments in Egypt to the south, you stack Syria on top of that. And really, this is a time when the most we can do right now with respect to the peace process is keep the door open and hope and pray that peace can unfold.
Got to just keep on hoping. All right. Thank you, Professor Michael Shires, for joining us this morning and giving us a special look inside